Hello and welcome everybody. This is Tommy Gilmore with Noisy Bird Digital Marketing, and you are watching another edition of Spotlight Southern Utah. Today we're joined by Chris Jaussi from ZipKit Homes. Chris, thanks for joining me.
You bet. Glad to be here.
And so we're going to talk about ZipKit Homes. We're going to chat. We're actually in one of their modular homes. We'll hear about some of the processes, how long they've been in business, and hopefully learn a few good business lessons from you today, Chris. So thanks for joining me.
You bet.
So tell us a little bit about ZipKit Homes, how you got started, and what made you interested in building these cool modular homes that you build.
Well, I've been a general contractor for, a long time, 20 plus years.
Okay.
And in 2008, when there was kind of the big financial crisis, we went from building, I think in 2008, we built like 70 homes and townhomes, and in 2009, it was like 2.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like a big drop off, and so, it was just because, the whole world changed at that time. So anyway,
Yeah.
we had kind of a big shop, and then kind of out of desperation, we said, okay, if we're going to stay in business, we got to figure out how to do things. We got to figure out how to do them a different way, how to do something different. So we just started just playing around with different things. We said, let's try building a little module. Let's try building some panelized stuff. Let's try this. And so it really went for years that we just tried things, and it just kind of evolved from there. And then eventually we ended up where we are, where, mostly that's what we do, is our panelized and modular homes.
That's awesome. And I know you guys have a few different models, right? So walk through, you've gone through this 15-year testing process. Now, how did you land on the ones that you do, and sort of walk people through that process that you went through for that?
Yeah, so like I said, we've tried a lot of different things, and what we found, we've done big modular homes as far away as, we've done some big 3,000 square foot modular homes that went all the way down to Coronado Island down in Southern California by San Diego, and big panelized homes. What we finally decided with the modular homes, it just works better if we can get the entire house in a single module. So like some of our biggest modular homes are like 1,000 square feet, but it's a long, narrow house. And so most of our modular homes are more like 400 square feet, 600 square feet, 800 square feet. And we built the entire home in our factory, so like it goes out done. So except for furniture, it's pretty much move-in ready. We drop it on a foundation, hook up some connections. We also have some other ones we just started called RVIA models, where they're actually on a permanent chassis and they're licensed as a quote RV, even though it's more like a house.
Yeah.
So we have those, and then we have panelized houses. And the panelized houses, we're just panelizing in our factory wall sections. And that's a really good solution if you just want to do the exterior of the shell fast. So we can get it framed up really fast and completely weather tight. We can show up, let's say, a 1,500 square foot home, and in less than a week we can go from a concrete foundation to, we put up the panels, we put the ice and water sheet on the roof, we put in the doors and the windows, and it's like completely weather tight, and that might happen in 3 or 4 days. So places like Brian Head ski resorts, places like that, we do a lot of our panelized stuff. But the disadvantage of that is the inside of the home has to be completely finished, and some of the outside, like we're not putting siding on the houses, so the remaining outside and the inside has to be completely finished on site. So that's still, with the panelized, maybe we do 20% of the construction, and the remaining 80% is done as a traditional home. But with the modular, we're doing 95% of the construction. So
Oh, cool.
that's the difference.
And so you have options that go from these smaller, almost tiny homes that people can buy, and that's a big popular thing right now, and then all the way up to, it sounds like, bigger vacation homes and things like that.
Yeah, no, last year we did a 3,000 square foot home up at Brian Head that was one of our panelized models. It's like, I think it's 5 bedroom, 5 bath. So yeah, those are on the bigger end. And on the smallest, like I said, I think 400 square feet is about our smallest, which is a pretty small home. I don't necessarily like the word tiny home, because tiny home is, you think of the people that are building little teeny houses on like little flatbed utility trailers, which isn't really what we do. And I kind of think that'll always be a little bit of a kind of a niche market. But 800 square foot modular homes, that's a very livable, normal house, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so a great option then, because especially with rates the way they are and people wondering, it sounds like you have a good option because you survived one crash. It's something that you made a pivot, you made an adjustment, and now it's a good option for lots of people, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think it's a really good option for first-time home buyers for sure. Our panelized kit homes, we actually sell a lot of those to owner builders.
Okay.
And the reason that seems to work really well for an owner builder is because we provide the complete set of engineered drawings and plans So we give them everything they need to get the building permit, which is a big hurdle if you're an owner builder, is getting that building permit. So we really help out with that. And then we do the big scary part, which is the frame, the whole structure of the house. And then we also have some software and some different checklists and things like that that we give them to help them get the loans and work with subcontractors and things like that. We can make it so an owner builder can generally, it's maybe an easier way to do an owner builder.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good variety then for people.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I really like what you were talking about when you were talking, you had this crash, you were building townhouses, things were going well, and then things really weren't going well, just in the course of a year. And I think a lot of people that are watching, they're also business owners, maybe things aren't going well. Can you speak a little bit to what it takes to really look at your business, say, this isn't going well, and then have that resiliency to say, then we need to make a pivot? And what does that mindset look like? What did you have to do for that?
Well, I mean, it's actually much bigger than kind of the way you explained it. So in 2008, we're building townhomes, and it was a really good business, and I was in my 30s and making enough money that I was actually thinking like, hey, I can actually retire in a couple of years because things are going really well and I'm doing really well. And it wasn't like a matter of a year, it was a matter of like weeks it went, but I had a lot of debt too, so we had a lot of construction loans, and so things are rolling, we're doing really well. And so in a matter of maybe a week or 2 weeks, it went from, hey, I have a lot of money and I think I can retire soon, to banks calling me saying, hey, you owe us $2 million and we're going to call that due, so can you pay us back right now? Or suppliers calling us and saying, hey, you owe us $200,000, we need to get that paid, when I didn't have the money to do that. I went from really, really good to really, really bad in just a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
And so, and that's a real kick, that's tough. That's like a really tough thing. And so at that point, I mean, really, the only options were just file bankruptcy. And a lot of businesses did at that time. I kind of looked at it and thought, I'm going to see if I can work my way through this. And so there was a lot of calls to the banks just saying, hey, I can't pay you $2 million. They say, well, can you start paying us $50,000 a month? And I'd say, how about $500 a month? And so there was this negotiation. So there was a lot of negotiating, and then, like I said, just trying new things. But it was years. It was years. It was not just months. It was years of like, I don't know if things are going to get better, and I don't know if we're going to make it through, and I might have to file for bankruptcy. As a business owner, when that happens, I mean, I think 90% of the battle is just not giving up. There's always a way to get through things. And like I said, it was years. So sometimes just putting your nose down and just going to work every day and just working hard and just hoping things work out for years is just what you got to do. That's just, that's just the life of a business owner, I think. So
I really like what you said about hope. That always stands out to me. I'm a big believer in the power of a positive attitude. I've just found if I'm getting down on my business, my work, a client, whatever it is, if I'm down on those things, man, do those things just feel heavier, right? Like, they always feel heavy. It's never easy to be a business owner, I don't think. I think we always feel a certain weight, but man, if I'm negative about it, if my mindset's really cruddy about it, it goes from feeling a weight to just feeling crushed by it.
Yeah. No, and I felt like that many times. It's weird with me sometimes. Like, I've had times where, like, in the evening, like, something terrible happened during the day and I've got some huge debt, or something's gone really, really bad and I think there's no way out and it's the worst day ever. But by the next morning you wake up and you go, you know what? You start thinking there's ways to get around this. Here's an option. I can do this. So there's always a way through it. And people that get depressed or get really down really easy, maybe they're not cut out to be business owners. Because, and I don't know, maybe my business is different. Maybe most businesses don't have these really tough days, but I mean, that's been my experience. In fact, now when stuff like that happens, I can almost just let it roll off. I'm like, yeah, whatever, we'll figure it out tomorrow. And we always seem to work our way through it, so.
Yeah, you kind of have this proven history almost, where you can look at it and you can say, I've gotten through worse, I've gone through this before, I know tomorrow I'm ready to face it. I'll feel it today, but I can face it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So if you're watching and you're somebody that you're like, man, sometimes it just feels really heavy, I would really look at, what's my mindset when I try to tackle these things? Am I feeling like I can? Do I still feel hopeful in those things? Or do I just let it make me want to stay in bed all day?
Yeah, and believe me, I've had many, many days where I'm like, I don't even want to get out of bed today. Mm-hmm. I don't even want to face what I got to face today. But I mean, if you just keep going like it's kind of like tenacity. That's just a thing that I think that can overcome talent, that can overcome a lot. You can be untalented, you can have a crappy product, but if you're like tenacious and you just don't quit, I mean, you'll come out on top.
Yeah.
So eventually, sometimes it takes a long time. But I also think, like, once I was at a home show and we had one of our modular units, and I remember there was these like college girls, and they're just talking, they're like, you have the coolest job in the world. You just get to build these like cool little houses and just do the design, and it's so cool. And I'm just looking at them going, you have no freaking idea. Because, like half the time I love my job, and I love being a business owner, but the other half the time I have to deal with all the stuff that nobody else deals with, or the biggest problems come up to me and then I got to deal with it. So it's not always fun, I guess.
No, it's not. Very rarely, I think, is business ownership sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
So, I mean, now you've been in business a long time now. You've been, especially in this part with the zip kit and all that, it sounds like for going on 15 years.
Yeah.
So,
before that I was in construction. So in fact, I was thinking about it. I mean, I've been working for more than 30 years, and I've worked about 4 years for other people.
Okay.
And the other 26, 27 years, I've been doing my own thing. So I've pretty much been a business owner my whole life.
Yeah.
That's just the way I'm wired, I guess.
That's awesome. So you've grown and scaled it. It's looked different over the years, I'd imagine. But talk about, what does it take to build a business and not just be self-employed? Because I know, especially here in southern Utah, there's lots of self-employed sort of home builders, right? It's just kind of them, and then they have their subs, right? But I know that you kind of have a team with you here that helps you run the business. How do you get to that point? What does it take, and what advice would you give to somebody if they're looking to do the same thing?
This may not be the answer that you think, but I remember when I was in business school, they showed us some graphs and some numbers one time where the businesses that make the most amount of money or the highest profits are either very small, like it's 2 or 3 guys, you and a couple of employees, or they're big. But that middle, they really don't make any money.
Yeah.
And I see that in construction all the time. So if you're a small guy and you've got a pickup and 2 or 3 employees, and your wife does the accounting, and you're putting a tool belt on every day, you actually probably do quite well and make good money. And then, of course, the big businesses, they can make a ton of money too. But those guys in the middle, like, it's a scary part in the middle where you're big enough where you have to say, okay, I can't manage all these guys, so I need to hire a superintendent. Then I need to hire a full-time accountant. And then I need to hire this. And that middle part is a scary time when you can go out of business because you're trying to scale up. So it's almost like you either got to decide, do I want to be small or do I want to be big? I don't think the middle is a good place to be. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being a small business. Like, there's people that might have, maybe they're self-employed, it's one person, maybe it's 2 or 3, they got a couple of part-time people, and they make a ton of money and they have a lot of freedom. That's awesome. Why would you want to go big and have a super stressful, business, and you got to deal with it all the time? So there's nothing wrong with being small and profitable. That's a good way to live. And then if you want to go big, if that's what you want to do, go big. But I would just caution people to not get caught there in the middle.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. That's something that I don't think even I thought about, but it makes a lot of sense. And it's probably where my business is, honestly. We're kind of in this middle point right now because it's me and a business partner, and then we have our contractors and a couple of part-time employees, and we're making good money on paper, but I feel like it disappears just as fast as it comes in a lot of times.
Exactly. Just be careful, and just be careful in the middle. Like, stay small so you can manage everything and keep it tight, or go really big.
Yeah. And so if somebody's watching and they want to go big, do you have any advice for like how to get there or what to look for or anything like that?
I mean, I always think, have you heard of like the 3 Ps before?
I don't think so, no.
So, I mean, you think you got to have product, so you have to have a good product. So, and you got to have good people, and you got to have a good process. And if you can have those 3 things, your business will do quite well. And so just look at that. If you want to get bigger, then think, do I really have a good product? And if you don't, then stay small until you really refine your product. So you have a really good product. And then, do I have a good process? Because you can have the best product in the world, but if you can't get it built the right way or whatever, you really don't have a good process. And then hire a couple of good people, And then when you're making money and things are going well, then you can say, like, another thing I've heard is they say that you should nail it before you scale it. So if your business is a little bit chaotic and it's small, don't try to go big.
Yeah.
You're just going to create a lot more chaos.
Yep.
So just focus on it, keep it small, keep it tight, and really dial in the business so you've really nailed it. It's a good, profitable business. You figured out your processes, your product is good, and then you can scale it. So
man, guys, I just found like my highlight clip. That was a masterclass, Chris. That was amazing. No, seriously. So people, process, product, right?
Yeah.
Those are your 3 Ps.
yeah, just got to focus on those 3 things. That's it.
Nail those 3 while you're small. Nail it, and then you can scale it up. If you're looking at your business and you're like, I'm stuck in the middle right now, look at your 3 Ps. Look at, do I have the right people in the right positions? Do I have
good
product, something that I can replicate? And then is the process there to keep replicating it, to keep doing it? And then if you feel like, yes, I can check all those boxes, okay, put some fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
Love it. That's awesome.
I think a lot of people make the mistake, they try to go big before they've really nailed those 3 Ps. And like I said, if you have a business that's a little bit chaotic and you say, I'm going to get bigger and that's going to make it better, no, you're just going to create more chaos.
Yes.
So don't do
and
that.
probably some ticked off people along the way, which sometimes happens, but with the chaos, it happens more often.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. Well, Chris, this has been super fun. I've learned a lot. I hope that people watching have learned a lot, and I hope you'll go back and rewatch some of this. If you could go back and give yourself some advice, you've been in this, you said 26, 27 years now.
Yeah.
If you could go back to day one, you're starting out, you're getting your first house built or whatever that looked like, what advice would you give yourself? What do you wish you knew back then?
If I look back and knew how hard it was, I don't know if I would even do it. Like I've told people before, I'm like, I should have been a college professor. They seem to have a pretty good gig. You know what I mean? So, but I have worked a little bit for other companies. I'm just not wired to do that. And so, I mean, the people that are like, they're just wired to be entrepreneurs, you got to do it. If that's what you're happy doing, you just got to do it. So you just got to go for it. But if I were to look back, another thing I would say, sometimes I feel like I've picked the hardest industry that I could possibly pick. Like the housing industry, all the stars have to align for you to actually make good money.
Yeah.
I mean, the interest rates have to be good, the weather has to be good, everything has to be good, and then you can make money. So I'm looking back, I'm like, I don't even know if I picked the right industry. Like, I don't even recommend that my children go into that. I'm like, find something, an easier way to make a profit. And then other than that, I would just say that what I just said, like, if I were to go back and do it again, I would say, just like I said, just focus on really, really dialing the business before you try to go big, and I think it'll make your life a lot easier.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. I think that a lot of times we as entrepreneurs, right, we don't get in this just to be mediocre, just to start a cruddy business. We want to do it the right way, and we have these big dreams, but not really the patience or the know-how to get there.
Right.
So I think that what you gave is great advice on how to get there, the things that you need to be able to know and do before you take it to that level.
Cool.
Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you took some things from this, and if you want to learn more about some of the homes that you guys offer, you're online, right? Mm-hmm. That's the best place to do it? Yeah,
just go to our website. It's zipkithomes.com, and we have some floor plans, pricing, a little bit of how we do it. So yeah, go ahead and look us up.
Well, guys, check that out, and stay tuned. We'll be here every Friday for another episode of Spotlight Southern Utah. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.